Where in Memphis?
Oh, I can get us there real quick. Jack Butler's gonna like you.
Somebody's calling my name.
You know what I got here? This is the mojo hand. The winning boy's magic. They say there's only one last true mojo left in the world. Take it, baby. Take it and go up there and do your stuff. I'm giving you all the magic I got.
Who's next up there? Who's coming on up? Who's gonna get their head cut?
How about you?
Chicken boy, chicken boy, chicken boy.
As I mentioned near the close of the last record, this record you are now playing is another example of the completion backwards principle.
Well. Who sent you here?
Can't talk, little man?
Oh, bitch.
Bet can't play none either.
I could pull a better cartoon out of my ass. Hey, whoa! Wasn't that great, kid?
But as for me, I'm off to battle aliens on a faraway planet.
It's like a freaking country bear jamboree around here.
But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie time.
Uh-oh. 2 independent thought alarms in one day.
Good morning, Wood Ticks and Patriots. Ooh, a little hot here today. Hey, it's the Just Jim Show, coming at you from the bunker in Lake Wisheyebego, in the far northern reaches of the Midwest heartland. You betcha. Hey, 10 things that you want to know for today. We're going to go through them real quick here. Grim new death toll in Syria. The UN, our buddies, of course. All you patriots know how much we love the United Nations and their blue uniform jackbooted thugs. They're claiming that 93,000 people have been confirmed killed in the civil war, with the real number likely to be higher. Yet almost everybody in the AP is talking 80,000 deaths. Not that they're right or wrong. And about 2,000 children or minors have been killed. The president of Turkey, prime minister, is saying that he will rid Istanbul's Taksim Square of all protesters within 24 hours. Hey, that's some cojones. The NSA says spy programs stop terror attacks. I'm not going to go into his testimony. General Keith Alexander told Congress that the collection of millions of telephone and internet records foiled a 2009 plot to bomb New York subways. Thousands are fleeing raging Colorado wildfires. 9,000 were told to leave their homes, and there's about 100 homes destroyed. More Bangladesh factories at risk after collapse. Another report obtained by the AP shows the garment factories are routinely built without engineer oversight and are not designed to withstand the stress of heavy thumping sewing machines. Afghan police killed in suspected insider attack. 6 officers were found shot to death at their checkpoint, and 2 other policemen were missing. Oh, that does sound like an insider deal to me. That's right. 10-year-old gets new lungs. A big story. Merg Hannon was recovering from surgery made possible by a judge's controversial ruling that expanded her options for life-saving surgery. With Obamacare, the old boy care, everybody better get to know a judge. They're now your new best friend if you need treatment. We'll talk. I don't know if I'm going to talk about that. We talked about that yesterday. Where baby boomers are not going. Guess what? Rural America is losing that monetary plus that senior citizens who retire in an area, much like up here in the bunker, around Lake Wisheyebego, it's all retirees. But guess what? They don't have services. They have lacking medical services. They're not up to snuff. So guess what? They'd rather go gamble their money away in Vegas or some other places in urban America, not rural America. That has a far-reaching effect on the economic base and stability of rural America. Although a lot of people who are in the working class don't really give a rat's patootie. I saved a quarter. And the fifth failure, I'm sorry to say, for the Cuba swim, Australian endurance athlete Chloe McCardle lasted 11 hours in the Cuba to Florida swim before being undone by jellyfish stings again. Weather threatens a historic open, and I don't know how the hell this story makes the top 10 of anything that's going on in the world, but I guess we do love our golf. Around Philadelphia, weather threatens the Open, the U.S. Open, and it's like, well, who really gives a rat's patootie? I don't. I enjoy a game of golf, but I don't want to watch somebody else swing the club. So what? I'd rather go out and practice and play. These and many more stories coming your way on the Just Jim Show from deep inside the bunker at Lake Wisheyebego. Oh, hey, don't forget it's call-in day. 1-855-490-2300. 1-855-490-2300. You can pick what you want to yak about. I'll listen. Doesn't matter to me. I'll be right back with more stories on the Just Jim Show. WPEG, your dose of reality TV network.
Getting back to school, I remember a teacher that I had. Now, I went through the seventh grade. I went to the seventh grade. I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. And I used to, this is true. I work in the summer and I go to school in the winter. But I had this one teacher. He was the principal of the Harrison School in Vincennes, Indiana. To me, this was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time, anyhow. He had such wisdom. And we were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day. And he walked over, this little old teacher. Mr. Laswell was his name. Mr. Laswell. He says, I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester. And it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge. Dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, oh glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. United. That means that we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose. All divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose. And that's love for country. And to the republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people. And it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands. One nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance: under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that is a prayer And that would be eliminated from schools, too.
At Hode Gun and Loan, you'll find one of the largest selections of new and used guns in the Northwoods. Beretta, Ruger, and Springfield Armory, rifles, pistols, and black powder. At Hode Gun and Loan, your gun and ammo needs are covered. We buy gold and jewelry too, and right now we're paying the highest prices in the Northwoods for your gold. Located at 915 Lincoln Street in Rhinelander, Wisconsin. WPEG.net, your local PEG programming content provider. We provide programming in public, education, and government programming for you, our listeners. A listener-supported station. Don't forget, support our underwriters, because they're the ones who care enough to bring you this program. Support our underwriters. After all, they're the ones that keep us bringing this program to you. WPEG.net television network is your PEG content provider in Wisconsin's Northwoods. Public, education, and government programming content is what we do. From city meetings to school board meetings and all points in between, you can count on WPEG.net to deliver the news of your elected officials to you. With WPEG's television network working for your community, you don't have to miss another government meeting or an important school board presentation. We deliver directly to your living room and computer. Tell your city officials that you want to know what they're doing. After all, that's why you elected them. Let your elected officials know that you want WPEG.net television network on your community cable television system today. Call 715-490-2300 or 490-2303 and tell us what you think. Or you can send us an email at pegnews@wpeg.net. WPEG is a listener-supported station. Are you ready for digital TV? Dave's TV is. Do you know what you need? Do you have what you need to watch the new digital TV signals? We've been installing antennas and satellite dishes for the past 25 years. From city installations to hunting shacks in the woods, from rabbit ears to 300-foot towers, we've seen it all. No job is too big or too small. Call Dave's TV and Satellite today at 715-362-3001. That's Dave's TV, 362-3001. Do you need a safe and secure place to keep your personal property? Do you want 24-hour lit access to your mini warehouse? Do you want your own lock on your storage unit? Conveniently located at 1647 Menominee Drive in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, Cedarwood Mini Warehousing has exactly what you're looking for in short and long-term storage units. With nearly 200 storage units that provide safe and secure storage for your personal property, Cedarwood Mini Warehousing and Storage will meet all your storage needs with their short-term and long-term rental contracts. Storage units come in sizes from 4 to 6 foot to 12 by 16 for your large personal and household items. For a limited time, get 1 month free with a 6-month paid rental contract. Call 715-366-2260 today to see about availability and current monthly specials. From big to small, we store it all. Call 715-366-2260 today. Prices subject to availability and rental contract. WPEG.net, your local PEG programming content provider. We provide programming in public, education, and government programming for you, our listeners. A listener-supported station. Don't forget, support our underwriters, because they're the ones who care enough to bring you this program.
We're going to leave you with the usual thing. The only thing I can say, as I've said to many people, is this title just about puts it all into focus. It's called With a Little Help from My Friends. Remember it.
Yeah, I can't tell you enough. I truly do like and need the support of our friends here on WPEG and the Just Jim Show. We can't bring this stuff to you if we don't have help from our friends. I'm telling you, I do love our friends and listeners. Hey, get involved. That's what it's all about. Thanks to everybody who supports us. Anyway, on with the stories of the day here. That's kind of my theme song for the day. I don't thank our listeners near enough, but it's great. Can't do what we do if we don't have help and support. Anyways, remember that building that collapsed, was it a couple of weeks ago or something, or May 14th? Watch your clocks, 9:30 in about 15 minutes on the East Coast. They're going to have the city officials are planning a 9:30 news conference. Guess who was found, they're saying, committed suicide, but Philadelphia, an official says an inspector who surveyed the Philadelphia building before it collapsed last week, killing 6 people, has committed suicide. Deputy Mayor Gilson says the inspector was found fatally shot in a pickup truck Wednesday night. Can you imagine that? Am I such a cynic that I just raised the hair on the back of my neck on this one? Found shot in a truck? I don't know. The man was a Department of License and Inspections employee who had inspected the building on May 14th. Officials were informing department staff Thursday morning that the man's name wasn't immediately being released. Again, there'll be a press release at 9:30 this morning in about 15 minutes on the East Coast. And the building was being demolished when it collapsed onto a neighboring Salvation Army thrift store on June 5th. Sorry, I had the wrong date. Killing 2 employees and 4 customers. Police allege a heavy equipment operator was high on marijuana when it happened. The city's top prosecutor is convening a grand jury to look into the collapse. I'm telling you, there's the story. That stuff there almost is too convenient when it starts showing up like that. Next story we're going to talk about, and it has to. I can relate to what's happened in Wisconsin many, many years ago in our sector, in the television production business. We use 1099, what we call 1099ers. They're contract employees, and I can't remember the name of the movie that brought it about in the state of Wisconsin, but there was a lawsuit because one of the producer assistants, I believe it was, what was the baseball movie they made in Milwaukee a number of years back? I can't think of it. Whatever. I will think of it. But the production part, the really production filming part of the production was over, but some of the behind-the-scenes things were still going on. And one of the production assistants got let go. She filed for unemployment, which brought down the state looking at the industry as a whole. And this was probably 20 years ago, maybe. But the unpaid interns, see, the terminology is, I talk about this all the time, the language that we use in today's world, sometimes, there we go, we'll turn that up a little bit. I don't know, who the hell turned that down? I suppose there's a quarter. The terminology gets bantered around, changed words. We use 1099ers, they're freelancers. But there are, in our case, many of the, it was interesting, many of the professional camera people and directors and set directors and all that were being paid more money and were actually more educated than half the people trying to prosecute them at the state level. It was very interesting, a sidebar on that thing. But they took a serious look at the production world as a whole. Now, today, unpaid internships have long been a path of opportunity for students and recent grads looking to get a foothold in the door of the entertainment, publishing, and other prominent industries, even if it takes a generous subsidy from mom and dad. Now, that's an interest. You're going to school, you get a journalism degree. What do? You go work for free to try to affiliate yourself with something that's in your regime. But you do it for free. Well, if it's free, it's for me. That's a common saying up here in the Northwoods. People don't get it and they chuckle at it. But guess what? Everybody seems to do it. Now the Supreme Court says, but those days of working for free could be numbered after a federal judge in New York, I love New York, Bloomberg and his entourage, ruled this week that Fox Searchlight Pictures violated minimum wage and overtime laws by not paying interns who worked on a production in the 2010 movie Black Swan. And to the degree that Black Swan took, I believe it took a lot of awards that year, is it just that film and the people who got let go or worked for free are actually saying, geez, I didn't get enough credit? Had you gotten paid a salary, would that have been enough to not file this lawsuit? The decision by U.S. District Judge William Pauley III may lead some companies to rethink whether it's worth the legal risk to hire interns to work without pay. Now, let's stop right there. This is talking about the private sector. An employer who hires interns for the summer to work on a project, and films are project based. They're not long-term career options. Your career option as a film producer, director, cameraman, gaffer, best boy, best girl, whatever, food service. Riley, quit licking. Sorry, I'm in the bunker. I got my pets with me, so be careful. Riley, no licking. No licking, baby. The ticks are terrible. Skeeters are terrible. So, but this is the private sector conversation that the federal judge is now making a ruling on. Did the federal judge, or was the complaint broad-based enough to take a look at political interns? Do you remember, who was that in the blue dress? Oh, wait a minute. Yes. Billy Clinton, blue dress, stains. Wasn't that an intern? Take a look at what the court system just did. How liberal are the courts? And we talked about this the other day with, I forget what decision they came down with. It was just totally, and it was a unanimous decision. This is, to me, very disturbing, that the courts are now also ruling that only in the private sector, this may and may or may not affect the industry as a whole. And as things become more digital, as in just look around, everything is digital around here. I'm an analog fan. I like the old-fashioned way. Tubes, you warm the tubes up and let them rip. But everything's digital now. We get to you, we're delivered to you digitally, and we can do it from anywhere in the world. So it's actually kind of interesting that those kind of jobs are actually getting fewer and fewer and actually becoming more and more high-tech, and they're cell work group oriented. You need a small team to do animation, cell animation, some other things in films that you watch and revel in the special effects. In the old days, we used to take half a stick of dynamite, put a washer and dryer out on the back 40 and light the fuse and watch it blow up. Put enough cameras on it, you'll get a good shot somewhere. Nowadays, I hate to say it, being in the business, we'll fix it in post. After it's all said and done, we can do anything here in the digital world. But that aside, for many young people struggling to find jobs in a tough economy, unpaid internships have become a rite of passage essential for padding resumes and gaining practical experience. And on that side, the digital world has opened up a whole cornucopia of job opportunities if you are versed in your trade. And that's part of what's going on here. You want to work on a film or do something here or there just to get your name out. Oh, I did that, so that now I can work for you for money. But the $1 million question is, how much did you get paid to do that? If you say that you did it for free, guess what's going to happen to your new wage? I'm sure this is causing a lot of discussions to be held in human resource offices and internship programs across the country. Most of the internship programs across the country are state or federally funded, so the employer isn't really knocking. If it's a manufacturing environment, hell, look at the 2-year apprenticeship program. I have 2 journeyman cards from back in my working in the factory days. 2 years? No, I don't think so. No, not happening. I paid my dues, learned the trades, but the state came in back when I worked at now defunct company Kearney and Trecker, machining tool manufacturer, and back in my union days, fought this desperately. There was no need for 2 years. That was an indentured servantship. 2 years to learn a grinding machine apprenticeship program. A grinding apprenticeship program, subsidized by the state. Company got their money subsidized. They got basically free labor from these young kids, and they learned how to run 1 or 2 machines in 2 years, and they ran them to beat all bejeebers. The union, my union, the machinist union, we did not look kindly on that because we were tradesmen. There are up to 1 million unpaid internships offered in the United States every year, says Ross Eisenbray, Vice President of the Economic Policy Institute, a liberal-leaning think tank. He said the number of internships has grown as the economy tumbled, and he blamed them for exploiting young workers and driving down wages. Now, I'm going to say that at some point, it isn't necessarily the young workers who are driving down the wages. You have displaced workers. If the we don't manufacture a whole lot around here anymore. I take that back. We do. We still do. But not nearly from the 50s, 60s, 70s, even into the early 80s. We are not a manufacturing guru anymore. We ship everything, have it all made overseas, and we bring it here. You have displaced workers who are now going to have to downgrade their job not their qualification, but their expectations to try to re-enter the workforce with all of the experience they have. We're locally going to lose 200 to 250 jobs, IT tech type jobs in our little Lake Wisheyebego area. What are those 250 people going to do? There is no parallel or lateral move that they're going to be able to make. A percentage of them probably, but a very small percentage. And they're going to be in their 30s, probably early 40s as in age. Where are they going? They are not going to find work here in rural Lake Wisheyebego. That is going to rip a tax base out of this community. Most average people don't see it that way. They don't take that next step. They're, I lost my job, and I'm not soft shoe shuffling this one. It's very important that they have a livelihood. But what it does to an already depressed rural section of the country when this happens, and it happens all over the place, this totally guts what little is left of a community. The return on a college investment has fallen. Students are facing higher and higher debt burdens, and the reaction of employers is to make matters worse for them by hiring more and more people without paying them. In the ruling, Pauly said Fox should have paid the 2 interns who filed a lawsuit because they did the same work as a regular employee. But that is part of what an internship or quote-unquote pseudo apprenticeship program is. You go in and you don't have the experience. You may not know what it is you're doing. You're taught a job. The interns provided a value to the company and performed low-level tasks that didn't require any specialized training. Well, okay, so if you're a grip is told what to do, but they do come in varying levels of grip qualification. I'm talking my business now in production, and that's what this is all about. The interns, Eric Glatt and Alexander Footman, perform basic administrative work such as organizing filing cabinets, tracking purchase orders, making copies, drafting cover letters, and running errands. Undoubtedly, Mr. Glatt and Mr. Footman receive some benefits from their internship, such as resume listing, job references, and an understanding of how production office works. But those benefits were incidental to working in the office like any other employees and were not the result of internships intentionally structured to benefit them. Chris Patrican, a spokesman for 20th Century Fox, said the company believes the ruling was erroneous and plans to appeal. I would too. Joe Turner, an attorney for the plaintiff, said it was the first time the court had given employee status to young people doing the types of duties commonly associated with interns. So, once again, it's a common practice. Not that it's right. I'm not making a judgment call on this thing. I'm not telling you it's right or wrong. But I'm telling you that is the way the industry has been working forever in time immortal. The case is one of several that have been filed in recent years demanding that all interns deserve a salary. Deserve. See, there's that entitlement. That's that entitlement word that has been inbred into our younger people. Quote, unquote, this is an incredibly important decision as far as establishing that interns have the same wage and hour rights as other employees. Then they're an employee. They're not an intern. And if the courts and legal system wants to do this, the business person in me today says that if you're going to say I can't hire an intern at whatever pay scale I choose to do, if I think I need an employee, I'm going to hire them. And if they can't do the job, I'm going to fire them. And I ain't paying unemployment. So that gives your degree and your educational system what responsibility, should I say further responsibility, placed on them. You damn well better train and educate the students coming through the system so they walk out and out of school, into the workforce, into a potentially my company or your company, and they need little to any training other than, well, let's see. Okay, in this file cabinet we have that. Not that so that they already know the librarian system of filing. On this computer we have that, and that's all they need to know, because I'm not going to continue their education then if you're going to say that I can't hire somebody as an intern. They're here to learn the job my way, not some union's way. That is the way it is. That's the real world. If you can't walk in, strap on the old boots, and go to work with minor direction, a couple questions from fellow employees, then so be it. But if you have to sit and train them, they're an intern, and they do not deserve anything other than what it is I want to give them. I'll be in trouble for that one. You can't just call something an internship and expect not to pay people when the interns are providing a direct benefit to the company. Well, what the hell do you think the internship is? This is socialism. Listen to this Yahoo blah blah this crap. I tell you, a manufacturing environment. An intern, much like the 2-year apprenticeship program I was talking about, you've got kids that are going to school, trying to learn on both ends of the spectrum in the trade, practical hours, albeit not full-time, 40 hours a week. They come in and he says they'd run them on days, if I remember correctly, but they'd work for, 2-3 days a week, something like that, and then they were going to school. But these guys are now sitting full-time, and they don't know their job, and they don't know their trade. Well, so then go back to school, put your money on the table, get an education in a trade school or whatever trade it is or career option you think you want to take, and go have at it. Oh, this is just an onslaught of socialism that just gets my gourd. Glatt, the lead plant, and I'm going to tell you, this is not a directive. This is just an editorial comment. These two guys are never going to find a job in this business for the rest of their life. You got to know that. The ruling for the interns, the judge followed a 6-part test outlined by the Labor Department for determining whether an internship could be unpaid. Under the test, the internship must be similar to an educational environment, run primarily for the benefit of the intern as opposed to the employer. And the intern's work should not replace that of a regular employee. So then so now you have to babysit a kid, a young person, it doesn't matter the age. So you have to take an employee and plant them next to and hover over an intern in order to qualify to be an intern. Because if you had an employee working in the same room that just answers questions as this intern learns the job, that intern, that person feels that they're entitled to the same amount of pay as the person who's been there for 20 years. It's now answering a few questions, and a supervisor walks in and says, how's things going? You need help? Blah, blah, blah. Educating. You're being paid. Don't you have to pay to go to school? For all you people out there who have degrees, didn't you have to put some money down to go to school? And that's the point of an internship. Instead of walking to a school and putting money down, you walk into a business. You get paid, I'll bet, less money, but it's like placing money on a table to learn a trade or craft. This is from the ground up educational. God, we missed the mark. Another prominent lawsuit is challenging unpaid internships at Hearst Magazine. See, the printing and publishing business. Hey, let me just call the cops out on this one because this is current events. What did I see on the television the other night? Good old Channel 12, the local NBC affiliate, has walked out and said, they're carrying a story on WXPR, our public radio station. They're looking for quote-unquote citizen journalists. You get that? Listen to that language. Citizen journalists. And what it means is you're going to work for free. We have all this whole new studio that they went out and raised money on to build or buy the building, had half the building donated to them, raised money to make the move from an old location they had, so now they're right down, they can see the courthouse. And what do? Go out and ask for, we have a small staff, and we can't afford to do this, and we can't afford to do that. Are they asking for interns? No, they're asking for gratis citizen journalists. And I got to ask the $1 million question. And they're going to train them how to use audio equipment, recording equipment, just like what I'm coming to you on. And I got to ask the $1 million question. Are they going to provide equipment? Is this, God, I've always wanted to be a radio announcer. Hey, got a great face for radio, right? Okie dokie. And are they going to benefit from the work of citizen journalists? And what is the difference between a citizen journalist and a journalist? I have to ask that $1 million question. What is the difference between, that could be today's question, what is the difference between a citizen journalist and a journalist? A citizen journalist will be excused, in my opinion. A citizen's journalist will be excused because of lack of professional qualifications by their editorializing of a news story. That makes him a citizen journalist. And this is what the pros are going to tell you. The pros are going to say, well, I'm a journalist. I went to school. I have a broadcast journalism degree, and I get paid to do what I do. But you want to know something? They do the exact same thing. Because how many professional true journalists, not editorialists, do you know out there? Do you listen to it? Do you watch them? Are they truly news journalists? And let's take it to the next step. Are they investigative journalists? That art is long gone. It's all because of the digital world that I'm part of. Within a minute, you can muster any answer to any question. Although we had this discussion, it seems like just last night, about the amount of information that flows around without the ability to actually verify the truth of the information that's floating around day to day, minute by minute. A story's here 1 second and it's gone the next. Does that mean that it didn't happen? Does that mean that it's being, welcome to, monitored? Is it being stifled? This free flow of information brings with it a mass of misinformation. The inability for consumers to check their sources. So now, does a public entity, a private public entity, PBS, WXPR and its associates, does it have the right to ask for citizen journalists to come and work for free? Yeah, Gantz, the lead plaintiff, lamented the fact that unpaid internships have become so normal, people will do it without blinking an eye. Welcome to Channel 12, running that story. Why in God's green earth would a paying NBC affiliate run a story about a public radio station that now wants to have free reporters? Do you think that they might get so many people who are upset about the world today that all of a sudden the NBC paying program is going to get infringed upon because of mass reporting by, a taxpayer-based radio station? What do you think? Conflict of interest there that they didn't see? It's just become a form of institutionalized wage theft, he said Wednesday in a conference call with reporters. Glatt has an MBA from Case Western Reserve University and said he is currently studying law at Georgetown University Law Center. So, there he goes. There's 100 ambulances to chase. What the hell is he worried about? Another prominent lawsuit is challenging unpaid internships at Hearst magazines. Last month, a federal judge in New York declined to let the interns pursue their case against Hearst as a class action suit. Camille Olson, an attorney who represents employers in workplace litigation, said Fox's decision was just one judge's opinion that may be overturned on an appeal. But she said that many employers are now taking a harder look at the issue. There's a lot more interest in making sure intern programs are structured correctly, or if an employer doesn't want to have any risk, then paying the minimum wage. Exactly what I said. They view themselves actually spending a lot of resources on these programs, Olson said. But Yamada, the law professor, said the growth of unpaid internships. I got tongue-tied on Thursday. The growth of unpaid internships unfairly leaves out students and graduates from lower economic levels who can't afford to work for free. Woe is me. If you're a college kid that has to make some money over the summer, maybe you go to work for a food store instead of applying for that fancy internship in the entertainment industry or arts industry, he said. There's nothing wrong with a tryout program that lets them scout out talent, but they should at least pay minimum wage. Well, why aren't we looking at the federal? See, here's the lawyer. They're bitching about their internship pay, but they're going to be a lawyer, and what are they going to do? They're going to go into politics. They're picking on an industry which actually coddles the political environment. You tell me the last time that somebody made a true-to-life blast at an administration. Not happening. The movie industry half the time leads what these Yahoo Village idiots do. I can't stand it. But I'm telling you, you lace your boots up the same every day, and it all turns back into one thing. Control, control, control. And with that, it's Just Jim in the morning from the bunkers at Lake Wisheyebego. I will be right back. Don't forget, call on in if you want to talk about something. 855-490-2300. We'll love to hear your smiley little happy voice.
At Hoday Gun & Loan, you'll find one of the largest selections of new and used guns in the Northwoods. Beretta, Ruger, and Springfield Armory, rifles, pistols, and black powder. At Hoday Gun & Loan, your gun and ammo needs are covered. We buy gold and jewelry too, and right now we're paying the highest prices in the Northwoods for your gold. Located at 915 Lincoln Street in Rhinelander, Wisconsin. WPEG.net, your local PEG programming content provider. We provide programming in public, education, and government programming for you, our listeners. A listener-supported station. Don't forget, support our underwriters, because they're the ones who care enough to bring you this program. Support our underwriters. After all, they're the ones that keep us bringing this program to you.
WPEG.net television network is your PEG content provider in Wisconsin's Northwoods. Public, education, and government programming content is what we do. From city meetings to school board meetings and all points in between, you can count on WPEG.net to deliver the news of your elected officials to you. With WPEG's television network working for your community, you don't have to miss another government meeting or an important school board presentation. We deliver directly to your living room and computer. Tell your city officials that you want to know what they're doing. After all, that's why you elected them. Let your elected officials know that you want WPEG.net television network on your community cable television system today.
Call 715-490-2300 or 490-2303 and tell us what you think. Or you can send us an email at pegnews@wpeg.net. WPEG is a listener-supported
Are you ready
station.
for digital TV? Dave's TV is. Do you know what you need? Do you have what you need to watch the new digital TV signals? We've been installing antennas and satellite dishes for the past 25 years. From city installations to hunting shacks in the woods, from rabbit ears to 300-foot towers, we've seen it all. No job is too big or too small. Call Dave's TV and Satellite today at 715-362-3001.
That's
Dave's TV, 362-3001.
Do you need a safe and secure place to keep your personal property? Do you want 24-hour lit access to your mini warehouse? Do you want your own lock on your storage unit? Conveniently located at 1647 Menominee Drive in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, Cedarwood Mini Warehousing has exactly what you're looking for in short and long-term storage units. With nearly 200 storage units that provide safe and secure storage for your personal property, Cedarwood Mini Warehousing and Storage will meet all your storage needs with their short-term and long-term rental contracts. Storage units come in sizes from 4 to 6 foot to 12 by 16 for your large personal and household items. For a limited time, get 1 month free with a 6-month paid rental contract. Call 715-366-2260 today to see about availability and current monthly specials. From big to small, we store it all. Call 715-366-2260 today. Prices subject to availability and rental contract.
WPEG.net, your local PEG programming content provider. We provide programming in public, education, and government programming for you, our listeners. A listener-supported station. Don't forget, support our underwriters, because they're the ones who care enough to bring you this program. Yeah, that's right. Joe Cocker there. Fan Appreciation Day, huh? Listener appreciation. A little help from my friends. out there in Lake Wisheyebego. Well, you know, the big story, not but just about a month ago, was Greece. What happened to the banking system there by the IMF and the euro? And you would think that, well, maybe not. But they haven't been around the news very much since that all happened. Little hoopla. Obviously, you know, they raided the bank accounts and said, oh, we need to take all this money, along with the government's guarantee that they would work harder at an austerity program. And they've just apparently started to do that. And in the scheme of an overrun socialist government that wants to control people, or its people, its subjects, what's the first thing that you would do? Number one, you would control probably the money, all communications. After that, food supply, the wants and wishes of the people. You know, if you can control it, hungry bellies make people do crazy things. Coming out of Athens, Greece today. We're going to go back in the Wayback Machine and bring you back up to the supply, or to the current day situation. Just a little background on this. When Nazi troops marched into Greece's nearly deserted capital on April 27, 1941, radio announcer Kostas Stavropoulos of the Hellenic Broadcasting Corporation announced the grim news. He urged his countrymen and women not to listen to future Nazi radio transmissions and signed off with the Greek national anthem. That was the first time that station, the Hellenic Broadcasting Corporation, went off the air from when they had been on the air. AP today, supporters stand outside the Greek state television-run ERT headquarters in Athens on Wednesday, June 12, 2013. State TV and radio signals were cut early Wednesday, hours after the government closed the Hellenic Broadcasting Corporation, ERT, and fired 2,500 workers. Now, remember, the government, even though they control it, what are they doing? They're cutting off the communications. Wait a minute. The communications world is really big. And what are we in America going through right now? Huge turmoil over communications. Greece's two largest labor unions called a 24-hour general strike for Thursday amid escalating protests against the decision to close state-run TV and radio that threw the country's conservative-led government into political crisis nearly a year after taking office. That moment in Greek broadcasting history is indelibly etched in the country's collective memory. It was the only time the state broadcaster, known as ERT, had ceased to operate from its birth 3 years earlier. That is until Tuesday, when Prime Minister shut ERT down and fired its 2,500 employees to prove to Greece's international lenders that it was serious about cutting the country's bloated public sector. I got to laugh at their roadmap on this one. Its TV and radio signals went dead early Wednesday. The decision might just bring down Samaras' conservative-led coalition government, which lambasted the broadcaster for its incredible waste. We'll just keep wasting money, but now we just won't tell them about it. The country's two largest labor unions called for a 24-hour general strike for Thursday to protest the move, and flights from Greece's airports were set to halt for 2 hours that day. Protesters gathered Wednesday outside the company's headquarters in northern Athens for a second day of as ERT journalists defied the closure order and continued to live internet broadcast. Oh, wait. Yeah, what's going on? Guess what? What is going to be the next thing the government is going to control and shut down? The internet. Well, wait a minute. This goes back to about, well, let's see, when Japan's Fukushima meltdown happened, what did Japan do? They hit the kill switch. What did Obama boy, what did he do or try to do a while back? Set up a kill switch in the United States. I'm thinking something didn't happen or we didn't hear the whole story. No guarantee. But there are forces that be, much like the young gentleman who's on the run now in China, and we'll talk about him in a little bit, have the ability to tunnel in and control providers, the people that you pay your money to get your internet, that now the younger generation thinks is a right or a privilege. It's not a privilege, it's a right. I have to have this. Journalist unions are also launching rolling 24-hour strikes, halting news programs on Greece's privately owned broadcasters, while government center-left coalition partners demanded that ERT's closure be reversed. Like other state-run companies in debt-drowned Greece, ERT is over its 75 years, was exposed to the kind of notorious political patronage that the country is famous for. As successive governments meted out jobs in exchange for votes, Greece's swelling ranks of public employees helped push it to a near financial ruin and in need of tens of billions of dollars in aid starting in 2010 from its 16 Eurozone partners. I tell you, despite that, ERT has forged a deep connection with ordinary Greeks, becoming the country's voice at home and to the world, especially in the absence of private broadcasting, which only came about in 1989. Can you imagine that, Americans? Can you imagine not having had what we have had in the private sector broadcasting arena, not having that available to us, but only since 1989 or 1990? Think about that. 20 years only. A little more than 20 years. ERT started radio programming in the 1930s and television in the mid-1960s. Though it was widely regarded as reflecting government policy, it had a channel run by the military during the 67-74 dictatorship. The broadcaster was also valued for showcasing regional and cultural content and for covering major sporting events such as the World Cup and the Olympics. Over the years, ERT became a mainstay in Greek life. At times, it provided the only outlet for entertainment and information to an impoverished nation slowly emerging from a bloody civil war in the late 1940s. It was also the sole link to the homeland for millions of Greeks around the globe. You know, there you go. So now we're going to talk about, which leads right into the control thing, which we talked about at the local gathering place last night. As Dr. Paul said yesterday, he fears for this young man's life because of our military technology and not really knowing maybe what information he actually has that he might be able to prove on the phone monitoring scandal. I was gonna do this the other way around. Let me go back here. This is the. Everybody talks about what's going on with what this young man has now revealed or talked about, and where'd he go? There he is, right there, and he's still in China apparently, in hiding there. Excuse me. And apparently he has stated that he has no intentions of returning to the United States of America. That again said, look at this. When is it that you would? I shouldn't say that. We, the people in China, have that mentality of defending freedom of speech. Tiananmen Square, Patriot awakens. Or what was that? See, I can't read it. It's too small for me. If you're over on a TV channel, take a look at what I got. I don't know what it says on there, but it's, here's an elderly Chinese gentleman holding a picture of our WikiLeaks boy and saying defend freedom of speech. There's something to be said for that. So anyways, apparently he's thinking about staying in China. And be that as it may, but Dr. Paul said that he really did feel fear for, as did Rand Paul, fear for this young man's life because of our military drone capability. Oh, wait a minute, what's that? President Barack Obama is the old boy, is defending secret government programs that swept up internet data on millions of Americans' phone records in their search for foreign terrorists. A timeline of controversy surrounding spy programs and privacy. I'm going to give you a timeline that in what it is that's known. In 1978, in response to outrage over spying on activists and other U.S. citizens, Congress passes the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. It creates a secret court to monitor spying within the United States, known as the FISA Court, F-I-S-A Court. Its judges sign off on wiretapping and search warrants used against foreign agents and suspected spies and terrorists and Americans involved with them. September 2001. Now there is time on here that's missing. Yeah, there's big chunks that we talked about this yesterday, where private corporations, due to the monetary cash flow that spying generates, it was in 2008, and that's missing from this timeline, along with coming into and leaving the data mining operations that providers walked into back in, what was it? Or was it 2008? I don't remember. I did the story and I forgot. I think it was 2008. But anyway, we jump from 1978 to 2001. September, the shock of September 11 attacks on New York and Washington pushes G.W. Bush's administration to seek new powers to improve intelligence gathering and prevent terrorism. October, the next month, Congress and Bush rushed the U.S. Patriot Act into law. Gives the government unprecedented authority to search, seize, detain, or eavesdrop in pursuit of suspected terrorists. Because of privacy concern, lawmakers make the eavesdropping provisions and other controversial aspects temporary, requiring renewal by Congress. So, in theory, the Patriot Act is, and in fact, it just got reauthorized, I think. Excuse me, I needed a drink there. And no, I'm not Rubio, playing Rubio. You have to come back and rationalize your expenditures, and I'm sure this was an expensive move in the scheme of our national spending. In December of 2005, the New York Times reports that National Security Agency is secretly eavesdropping on telephone calls and emails of Americans communicating with people outside of the United States without seeking warrants from the FISA Court. What becomes known as warrantless wiretapping began in 2002 under a presidential order. This is in 2005. Critics call it unconstitutional, but the Bush administration says it's legal. Well, there you go. I say it is, you say it ain't. Is that an us and them comment? March of 2006, Congress votes to renew the Patriot Act. Although lawmakers voice concerns about the government's broad-based powers to conduct surveillance and collect data. So somebody throws the flag up, the old question mark flag, and a couple other people join on the bandwagon. But guess what? They renew it anyway. May 11, 2006, a couple months later, USA reports that the NSA is secretly collecting phone records of millions of Americans in a giant database. What year was that now? 2006. Some of the phone companies cited dispute the story. Well, we know that that's not true. I don't care what they dispute. August of 2006, a federal judge in Detroit rules the NSA warrantless survey program is unconstitutional because it infringes on free speech, privacy, and the separation of powers. The program continues as the case is appealed, which would lead us to our next story, but that's why I said I wanted to do this timeline for you. Responding to the court challenge, and this is in January of 2007. We've gone from August of 06 to January of 07. Responding to the court challenge and lawmakers' concerns, Bush suddenly changes course. Change course. His administration announces it will begin seeking approval from a FISA court when eavesdropping on telephone conversation between the U.S. and other countries is in pursuit of terrorists. So he succumbs to the Detroit federal judge and says, well, okay, let's just say we're going to do this differently. That's in January. Now, in August of 2007, Congress approves changes sought by the Bush administration to the FISA Act, officially allowing NSA eavesdropping on communications between an American and a suspect foreigner without FISA judge approval. So in 8 months, he goes from, well, okay, we'll go get FISA approval. And 8 months later, he just rewrites the law. Sorry, GW, but I'm thinking you're playing that game that not a lot of patriots like. June 5th, 2013, and we're all the way up here. The Guardian, a British newspaper, reports the NSA is collecting telephone records of millions of American customers of Verizon under a top-secret court order. So I guess at least they followed the procedure and got a court order. Security experts say the records of other phone companies are also involved. Yes, AT&T, Comcast, I don't know who else is in on it. Next day, June 6th, the Guardian and the Washington Post report that the NSA and the FBI are tapping into U.S. internet companies, including, wait a minute, who is this? Google and Facebook, scooping out emails, photos, and videos to track foreign nationals who are suspected of terrorism or espionage. That night, in a rare disclosure, Director of National Intelligence James Clapper reveals some information about the programs to counter what he says is the misleading impression created by news coverage. And there goes that investigative journalist, blah, blah, again, huh? Clapper says the government is prohibited from indiscriminately sifting through the data and can only review it when the query involves a reasonable suspicion that a foreign terrorist organization is involved. Clapper says, this is like clap on, clap off. Clapper says articles about the internet program can, quote-unquote, contain numerous inaccuracies, but does not specify what they might be. Well, there you go. You guys are off your rocker. June 7th, the next day. That's 3 days in a row now. We're now trying to put a public relations spin on what's been going on. Obama defends the program, saying he came into office with a quote-unquote healthy skepticism about them and has increased some safeguards to protect privacy. If you reflect back on what Mr. Adolf Hitler once said, as the Nazis climbed to their regime of destruction and mayhem, you have to give up some security for protection. Does anybody, the educational system, here you go again. You don't teach our youngsters the flaws, the scheming, the plots and the plans that have led to massive chaos, inhumane actions by past idiots. I ain't going to say it any plainer than that. Past village idiots who gain an international or national control freak status. I got this idea. I don't know where Adolf came up with this crap. I got this idea. I was sitting there having my coffee with Brown, and let's just kill all the Jews. Well, what the hell is this? Let's have a little pure race thing going on. And how the hell does he sell that to the mass population? Wait a minute. High unemployment, hungry bellies, possibly a farming blight that year or over the course of 4 or 5 years. Oh, and then guess what? Let's do it for the children. We'll bring the children into the fold, and we'll teach them. We'll muster them into classrooms and teach them the Reich. Yeah, okay. Yeah, how did that work out for us all? Huh, patriots? You got to wake up. You got to put these pieces together. This is shit just happening. Oh, there's a quarter. Just happening over and over and over again. And our kids are so dumb. They have been so dumbed down. You've heard the term. You've all heard the term, dumbing down America. This is the result. We're in it today. We're living it. We're living in a dumbed down, new world. Hope and change. We have to make a new world. He never said make a new America. He said we have to make a new world. And old Biden's, I got the soundbite here somewhere, and old Biden says the same damn thing. Well, I guess all that's left to do is just make the new world. Hello? Knock on wood. You're going to have to make some choices as a society. The only time listen to the language that old boy uses, the old village idiot. Here, if you're watching TV, there you go. Listen to the language the village idiot uses. And be very careful with what you listen to. With the ear, the discerning ear that you use to listen to this old boy. The only time that he says we, including himself with the masses that actually pay his salary, is when he wants something done his way. We have to make a choice. When he's in Mexico talking to a graduating class of university students, it's all about him. I'm not to blame. I'm trying to fix it. They're the ones who are disrupting your families, keeping you from getting back together again. No, that's not true, bozo. They came here illegally, and the term illegal means something. All you cockroaches in the team of 8, the gang of 8, the Chicago politics gang of 8, who are pushing this immigration crap path to, I have more voters waiting for me. You know, there's enough of that shit going on. Kiddies, close your ears. There's another quarter. June 8th. Oh, that's 4 days in a row now. The administration is trying to put a spin on this whole crap. Okay, another quarter. No, that's not. I'll throw it in. Who cares? For the second time in 3 days, Clapper takes the unusual step of declassifying some details of an intelligence program in response to media reports. So, let's see. That means that if he's declassifying something, it really didn't matter in the first place. Shouldn't have ever been classified. So it's like clap off. Oh, clap on, clap off. We got a clapper running around. He says the government program for tapping into internet uses is authorized by Congress, falls under strict supervision of a secret court, and cannot intentionally target a U.S. citizen. Clapper says the data collection had the approval of Secret Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act court and was done with the knowledge of the internet service providers. He says media revelations of government intelligence gathering programs are reckless and give American enemies a playbook, quote unquote, on how to avoid detection. Let me tell you something, Clapper. Listen up. Here's a call to Clapper. I want you to be clap on for the next couple of minutes. Your intelligence agency is either so inept at its duties from a technical standpoint, or they are so blatantly treasonous that what is the last thing that happened to the government agency? China hacked into military computers, didn't they? Remember this story, people? Or wasn't this told? Didn't you watch it on the news at 10 o'clock at night? China hacks into U.S. military computers. We don't have to. They already know how to hack into your DSA agency. This isn't anything that, by allowing anything to be declassified, has a doodly squat to do with. They already know. They're higher educated. Whoa, let's go back to the education system again, huh? A playbook on how to avoid detection. They're hacking into our computers. You think they don't know how to not be detected? Do you think that maybe we should learn how to protect our own intelligence? This just befuddles me. And for Americans to not tie these pieces together just blows me away day after day after day. June 9th, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. 5 days in a row. We've spent an entire work week now putting spins on things. June 9th, 2013, Edward Snowden, a 29-year-old contractor who claims to have worked at the National Security Agency and the CIA, allows himself to be revealed as the source of disclosures about U.S. government secret surveillance programs. Snowden tells the Guardian newspaper his sole, quote-unquote, sole motive is to inform the public as to that which is done in their name and that which is done against them. WikiLeaks all over again. Skullduggery all over again. Now that's a timeline, very brief, and there's a lot that goes in between this because in, I think it was 2008, Charter Communications sent letters to its subscribers stating that they were going to track surfing, anything you do on the internet, surfing-wise. Google Mail. I just talked about this yesterday, I think. If you have a Gmail account, your account is targeted and key text words are picked from your email as it goes through their servers. What's going on, folks? You think it's free, it's for me? Nothing's free, baby. Not at all. Nothing's free. And if it is free, it sure ain't for me. Lawsuits over government surveillance languished. Here's the article, folks. Now, wait a minute. There's already lawsuits going on here? Remember, GW backed away from it. Then he rewrote 8 months later. He rewrote the law and said, well, we're going to do it. We'll figure out a new way. Change horses in the middle of the stream, sort of, kind of. It's just like what happened at the DNC and the GOP conventions this last electoral cycle, isn't it? The DNC pulled verbiage from their platform. Oh, and the GOP said, well, Dr. Ron Paul candidates, delegates, well, you're not qualified to be here, so we'll just replace you with alternatives. And both parties don't understand why the hell they don't have some kind of fervent backing, because they keep doing this crap. Here we go, and the courts are right in cahoots with them. San Francisco. Oh, let's be happy in San Francisco. Before there was an Edward Snowden and the leak of explosive documents showing widespread government surveillance, there was Mark Klein. Let's see, we got a picture of Klein? There we go. Mr. Mark Klein. A telecommunications technician who alleged that AT&T was allowing U.S. spies to siphon vast amounts of customer data without warrants. Hello? Can you hear me now? Klein's allegations and the news reports about them launched dozens of consumer lawsuits in early 2006. Let's go back. Yep, that's May 11th, according to the timeline over here on our spying story. That would bring that back into focus on May 6th. In early 2006, against the government and telecommunications companies. Of course, over here they say all the phone companies disputed anything that was cited, disputed the allegations. The lawsuits alleged invasion of privacy and targeted the very same provisions of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act that were at the center of the latest public outcry. That was 7 years ago. And the warrantless collection continues, perhaps on an even greater scale. Well, of course it's a greater scale because there are more people using them. Yesterday we did a story from coming out of Fiji about the massive amount of data that's being used from sunrise to sunset in everyone's daily life. That was 7 years ago, and the warrantless collection continues, perhaps on an even greater scale, underscoring just how difficult the recent outrage will have in pursuing any new lawsuits, like the one the American Civil Liberties Union filed against the government on Tuesday in New York's federal court. Quote unquote, I warned whoever I could, Klein said in a telephone interview from his home in Alameda, California, a city across the bay from San Francisco. I was angry then, and I'm angrier now. Here he's sitting with his lawsuit papers, class actions. All lawsuits prompted by Klein's disclosures, listen up, folks, were bundled up and shipped to a single San Francisco federal judge to handle. Nearly all of the cases were tossed out when Congress, in 2008, here's the boys and girls on the Hill, folks, boys and girls, patriots. All the lawsuits prompted were bundled into one package, and nearly all the cases were tossed out when Congress said in 2008 passed the Telecommunications Retroactive Immunity from Legal Challenges, a law the U.S. Supreme Court upheld. We can do anything we want, and we're immune. Listen to this, folks. Hello, patriots. Are we waking up? The only lawsuit left from that bundle is one aimed directly at the government, and that case has been tied up in litigation over U.S. Justice Department's insistence that airing the case in court would jeopardize national security. There you go. Just scream at the top of your lungs. Well, this was done for national security. The United States government under both administrations has been stonewalling us in court, Lee Tien said, an attorney with the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which represents consumers that have filed lawsuits. EFF has also filed a related lawsuit seeking the Justice Department's legal interpretation of the law that the government is apparently relying on to collect consumers' electronic data without a warrant. Now, again, you're using, if you listen back to what's been said to you as you listen to the news spins, well, we only get this mass data thing, phone number in, phone number out, and length of time. They don't tell you what the criteria is to stop that and listen to what it is that was going on. The United States. Oh, I'm sorry. Judge Clapper, or James Clapper, Director of National Intelligence. Oh, come on, clap on, clap off now. Personally urged U.S. District Attorney Jeffrey White to throw out the remaining lawsuit. Clapper wrote the judge in September that the government risks exceptionally grave damage to the national security of the United States if forced to fight the lawsuit. But on Friday, federal prosecutors asked the judge to delay making any decision until it can report back to the court on July 12th what the latest disclosures may mean to the lawsuit. Excuse me. Tien and other EFF lawyers are also assessing the newest disclosures to determine if they bolster their case. So now this has been going on so long that now the new leaks may have relevance to an old lawsuit. But guess what? They passed the immunity law. Snowden, 29, a former CIA who most recently worked as a contract for the NSA, admitted leaking details of two secret government surveillance programs. He revealed a top-secret court order issued April 25th by Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court that granted a 3-month renewal for the large-scale collection of American phone records. That program, the same one Klein tried to expose. So this hasn't changed. From 2006 to now, it hasn't changed. The same programs are continuing, although they're still in litigation. That program, the same one that Klein tried to expose, allows the NSA to gather hundreds of millions of U.S. phone records to search for possible links to terrorists abroad. Once again, if this is all they're collecting, I see a phone number either originating or coming in to the other phone. It matches 2 phone numbers, location and duration. That's it. Well, if you got an area code, you know the location. Well, not necessarily with a cell phone, but a year later, Klein was touring with a decade earlier, Klein began to sniff out the contours of the large-scale data collection. In 2002, so we're now way back from 02, he let in a visitor to his AT&T office in San Francisco who identified himself as an NSA representative. The NSA official interviewed Klein's colleague, who said he was given top-secret government clearance soon after the encounter. 1 year later, in 2003, Klein was touring another AT&T office in San Francisco, where he saw a colleague installing a special room. By coincidence, Klein was transferred to that location a few months later and quickly discovered the colleague with the government clearance was the only person with access to that room. When the colleague retired in 2004, he gave Klein several documents, including highly technical wiring diagrams. The diagrams showed AT&T's electronic communications flowed through a splitter, quote unquote, which created identical copies of the digital material. One copy continued on to its intended destination of consumer email boxes, phones, and the like. The other copies flowed into his secret room. Klein says, "That's when I knew." Other documents showed similar setups at other communications companies, including internet service providers and other telecommunications companies. Those documents are now part of the EFF lawsuit, which is being pursued against the government. Klein said he decided to publicize his concerns after President Bush in 2005 responded to a New York Times story about domestic eavesdropping. And we said that over there. New York Times reports the NSA is secretly eavesdropping. Defending the program is limited to only foreign-based communications. Quote, unquote, "It was clear that the NSA was looking at everything," Klein said. "It wasn't limited to foreign communications," quote, quote, end quote. On Tuesday, Klein said that for a number of reasons, Snowden's disclosures sparked more public outrage than his own revelations did nearly 7 years ago. Once again, you've now got a younger generation that walks around and they don't know how to do anything other than text, blah, 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 blah. Inclusive of a survey I heard, which sort of supports this comment. The younger kids would rather text than talk, for whatever reason. Maybe because they can't communicate, can't get it out of their mouth. Their mind can't slow down enough to actually think what it is they're going to say. For one thing, Klein said, Snowden had direct access to a secret court order and details of the program, while Klein pieced together the government's surveillance through internal AT&T documents and in discussions with colleagues who worked on the project. The government painted me as a nobody. Oh, wait a minute. Listen to what's going on with this guy. Didn't graduate from high school, but he got a GED, which is the same thing as finishing high school. Didn't do this, didn't do that, but guess what? He got into a lot of high security places. So does that mean, I would then logically think, if what I hear on the 10 o'clock news about this guy, Snowden, this guy here now, who's apparently hiding out in China, if in fact he is this bozo nobody that the press is now trying to paint him as, what does that do to the thinking process of the actual abilities of the corporations who are being hired by our government to protect us? If they hire this nobody, give him all this access to all this information, without an education, without a this, without a that, are we spending our money wisely with people who are competent in their jobs? Or are we just pork barreling it out the tax coffers door? The government painted me as a nobody, a technician who was merely speculating, said Klein, who made his disclosures after he accepted a buyout and retired from AT&T in 2004. What does that say? I mean, whatever. He's spilling the beans, but he got a buyout. AT&T says, well, I think we're going to make him go away. We'll let him have the sweet life, the good life. But now he's out of our hair. Now we have an actual copy of the FISA court order. There it is in black and white. It's undisputable, and they can't deny it. If that's what I haven't seen the court order. Klein also said the allegations that the government was accessing social media sites such as Facebook may have gotten the attention of more and younger people who weren't bothered by his initial disclosures. Now, quote unquote, now the government is intruding in places they go, said Klein, 68. That probably got their attention. And I would tend to disagree with that. Once again, our educational system has failed so miserably. And point in fact, in the state of Wisconsin, a couple of years back when our governor was being recalled, and Act 10 was being implemented, the teachers' union exercised what they thought was a right. And a right is something that you're born with. It's not something that someone gives to you. That is only a privilege. The teachers' union and teachers, let's not use the union because the teachers did it, and they are the ones that are responsible for their own actions. In a republic, anyway, that's the way it is. Individual responsibility, not responsibility for the whole. Teachers sat at their computers that were paid for by taxpayers while they were being paid by taxpayers to teach their children, used their computers to organize massive Madison, Wisconsin disruptive gatherings with absolutely no consideration that what they were doing would be in any normal situation not an acceptable practice. That said, given there be no recall, let's say it never happened, I have to then continue to think that since they did this blatantly, and the emails were recovered from many teachers in many recall, even state senator recall elections. We're having an organizing party at such and such a place, from a teacher in a school on a taxpayer computer while they're getting paid a salary to be there. With explicit instructions when you take a job. I don't know if anybody's ever seen this. When you take a job, you can go to any school district website, look up their rules for copyright infringement, rules of do's and don'ts for that, specifically within their classroom. What is considered to be a copyright infringement, what's not, how much of an article you can use, can you dissect, and the process by which you have to do it. School districts have these things online. I'm damn near every one of them. And an acceptable use policy for the equipment sitting in their classrooms for personal use. And they all sign off on it in order to get their job. But once they get their job, it's an entitlement. I'm entitled to use this thing anytime. What do you mean? I can't send an email. It was only an email about Bobby's birthday coming up. I was getting a party going. Are you there to talk about Bobby's birthday party, or are you there to teach our children? I'm thinking you're there to teach our children. And it isn't sloughing over 2 paragraphs about our national history, the history of the United States of America, the bad things that happened and have happened and transpired, the Vietnam War, the Korean War. They're down to a paragraph, maybe 2, the World War II, World War I. We get 2-3 paragraphs in there. Not the underlying issues that brought about our involvement in these things. Not the underlying brutalities. Yeah, and I've said this story once before, and I'm going off on a tangent here, but it sort of kind of makes sense, at least to me. I remember when Schindler's List, the movie Schindler's List, came out. sits on my top 10, if not a little higher, of movies. If any of you have seen it. When that movie came out, that was, and I don't remember the year, and I should, but I don't. The internet was not full-blown capacity, nowhere near what it is today. And what was going on then were called bulletin board systems, or BBSs. And they were limited to a computer and how many computer modem cards. Anybody here know what a modem card is? What a modem is, rather than a Cat5 cable or a cable company coax. You were limited by the bandwidth that you could dial up. It was called a dial-up connection. And there was a local guy that I knew that had a BBS down in southeastern Wisconsin. A couple of them anyway, but one of them specifically. And I think at one time he had 10 or 14, the maximum you could go into a chat room was 10 or 14 people. And his system was strained beyond belief. But we did it. And within that little small group, there were a couple of younger high school kids that came in, kids of parents and all that. And at that time, there really was not that big of a threat like there is security-wise on the internet now. The pedophile predators, the whole 9 yards, it just wasn't there. And if it was very underlying. And there were kids who, at that time, swore that they would have sworn on a stack of Bibles that the incidences that were depicted in Schindler's List were only made up by Hollywood movie makers, that they never happened. And to this day, I remember that conversation. He would never tell me, this was a young man, supposedly. You never know who's on the other end, but I knew enough people in the group that were chatting all the time, that this person, I didn't get the teacher's name out of him, and the parent either wouldn't give it to me or didn't know. But I wanted to challenge that teacher back then as to what it was that he was teaching this young person, that this person honestly believed that this stuff never happened. All Hollywood make-believe. That this, whether he didn't want to believe it, I don't know. But he was being taught it, but he was swearing that it never happened. The concentration camps never happened. Nazi occupations never happened. And to this day, it sticks in my mind as to the remiss duties of teachers in teaching what it is that gets these young kids into the places they are today. We did a story 3-4 months ago, how the Taliban is doing the exact same thing within the young people of their country. Here's a picture of it right there. I think one of these is a 14-year-old child. Right here he is, right there. They are being indoctrinated, and they pay these young, really vacant minds. They offer them the food and the money, knowing quite well that because they don't know anything, you can strap a bunch of dynamite on them and make them a human bomb and send them off. And the Taliban just doesn't think that this is important. There is no future. Today is the only thing. You're going to see Allah and the 29 virgins, whatever it is. And yet they give them the Quran, and they teach them what they need to know through that. Same thing as this young man sitting in a chat room talking about that the Auschwitz never happened. Hollywood make-believe. I'm telling you, teachers, this Common Core that is now looming over America needs to be stopped. It only perpetuates lack of education and supports simply trying to pass a test. And it's all tax-based, dollar-driven. This has to stop. Patriots, get up off your couch potato asses and get involved in this. I'm certain that our country will not be worse off if you do get up and start becoming involved. This is Just Jim in the Morning from the bunkers at Lake Wisheyebego. I'll be right back after these messages.
At Hodag Gun and Loan, you'll find one of the largest selections of new and used guns in the Northwoods. Beretta, Ruger, and Springfield Armory, rifles, pistols, and black powder. At Hodag Gun and Loan, your gun and ammo needs are covered. We buy gold and jewelry too, and right now we're paying the highest prices in the Northwoods for your gold. Located at 915 Lincoln Street in Rhinelander, Wisconsin.
WPEG.net, your local PEG programming content provider. We provide programming in public, education, and government programming for you, our listeners. A listener-supported station. Don't forget, support our underwriters, because they're the ones who care enough to bring you this program. Support our underwriters. After all, they're the ones that keep us bringing this program to you. WPEG.net television network is your PEG content provider in Wisconsin's Northwoods. Public, education, and government programming content is what we do. From city meetings to school board meetings and all points in between, you can count on WPEG.net to deliver the news of your elected officials to you. With WPEG's television network working for your community, you don't have to miss another government meeting or an important school board presentation. We deliver directly to your living room and computer. Tell your city officials that you want to know what they're doing. After all, that's why you elected them. Let your elected officials know that you want WPEG.net television network on your community cable television system today.
Call 715-490-2300 or 490-2303 and tell us what you think. Or you can send us an email at pegnews@wpeg.net. WPEG is a listener-supported
Are you ready
station.
for digital TV? Dave's TV is. Do you know what you need? Do you have what you need to watch the new digital TV signals? We've been installing antennas and satellite dishes for the past 25 years. From city installations to hunting shacks in the woods, from rabbit ears to 300-foot towers, we've seen it all. No job is too big or too small. Call Dave's TV and Satellite today at 715-362-3001.
That's
Dave's TV, 362-3001.
Do you need a safe and secure place to keep your personal property? Do you want 24-hour lit access to your mini warehouse? Do you want your own lock on your storage unit? Conveniently located at 1647 Menominee Drive in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, Cedarwood Mini Warehousing has exactly what you're looking for in short and long-term storage units. With nearly 200 storage units that provide safe and secure storage for your personal property, Cedarwood Mini Warehousing and Storage will meet all your storage needs with their short-term and long-term rental contracts. Storage units come in sizes from 4 to 6 foot to 12 by 16 for your large personal and household items. For a limited time, get 1 month free with a 6-month paid rental contract. Call 715-366-2260 today to see about availability and current monthly specials. From big to small, we store it all. Call 715-366-2260 today. Prices subject to availability and rental contract.
WPEG.net, your local PEG programming content provider. We provide programming in public, education, and government programming for you, our listeners. A listener-supported station. Don't forget, support our underwriters, because they're the ones who care enough to bring you this program.
What would you do if I sang out of tune? Will you stand up and walk out?
Joe Cocker. A little help from my friend.
Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song. I will try not to sing out of key. Oh, baby, how you
Oh, yeah. Again, this is a viewer-supported station, and I appreciate each and everything that my viewers help out with. Absolutely. Can't get along without your friends. And with that, we're going to go back and talk about something on the light side, I think. What do we got here today? You know, here we go. On the lighter side. At least to me, it's a lighter side. Who created the internet and the World Wide Web, or the W3 as it's called? Was it truly Al Gore like he claims? Somehow I think not. And I think most of you out there know that. Restoring the first website, the number one first website. Can you imagine trying to tackle that? Many of you don't know this, but even though a website goes away and you can't get it, if you type in www something, you can't get there, doesn't mean that it never existed, and it doesn't mean that you cannot go and find out what was on that page or that website as a whole site. Absolutely not. There are a number of tools that you can come up with that will help you track that stuff down. But anyway, there is now a story coming out that the very first website is wanting to be restored. And it's a project. It's not just a want. There you go. CERN, or CERN. This project is aimed to preserve some digital assets that are associated with the birth of the web. For a start, we'd like to restore the first URL, which is the address, put back the files that were there at their earliest possible iterations. Then we'll look at the first web servers at CERN and see what assets from them we can preserve and share. And No, I didn't get a picture of the server. I had a picture. I let it go. Oh, well, whatever. I actually had a picture of the actual physical box that this thing was parked on. We'll also sift through documentation and try to restore machine names and IP addresses to their original state. As long as they don't try and come get my IP numbers, it doesn't matter to me. The first, beyond this, we want to make http://info.cern.ch. The first web address, a destination that reflects the story of the beginnings of the web for the benefit of future generations. Now, interestingly enough, in the scheme of a society, what is it that we, at some point, a lot of us, I won't say the most of us, I'm not that bodacious, a lot of us, as we move along in years, we want to look our genealogy up. We want to trace our roots. Maybe we know it, maybe we don't, but we want to document it at some point. I think my sister-in-law actually did two, one for her husband's family and one for her family. Has books. I mean, and her husband's family, her father-in-law, actually published a book, gave it to all the kids. Bound the thing up and actually made a book out of it. It's actually very cool. And when you sit down and you talk to people who know their heritage, it's actually very exciting and interesting, at least to me it is, to hear these stories of what has gone on in their past generations. Feel free to browse through the site. It is being used by the restoration team to document resources, ideas, and leads. So there must be some form of communications. I haven't gone over there yet, so I don't know. Do you have resources, ideas, or comments? Email us at first-website, FIRST-website, WEBSITE, at CERN, CERN.ch. And, you think it's cool? You think it's a waste of money? If you're not sure, whatever. Go over to check it out and then put your input in. Because how many of you go to Wikipedia? I got to ask you that question. How many go to Wikipedia to find stuff? I know I surf over there, but just simply because you can sign up and have an account doesn't mean that you're going to give truthful information. So that's kind of an entire site that's in flux all the time, depending upon the input by its users. Over here is another story by Jeffrey Collins that's coming in today, and it has the same thing. For the European physicist who created the World Wide Web, so it wasn't Al Gore after all. Preserving its history is as elusive as unlocking the mysteries of how the universe began. Not really. The scientists at the European Organization for Nuclear Research, known by its French acronym CERN, are searching for the first web page. It was a project using Next Computer that Apple co-founder Steve Jobs designed in the late 80s during his 12-year exile from the company. Let's see, the concept of the earliest web page is kind of strange, Noyes said. It's not like a book. The book exists through time. Data gets overwritten and looped around. to some extent, it's futile. In April, CERN restored a 1992 copy of the first ever website that Berners-Lee created to arrange CERN-related information. It was the earliest copy CERN could find at the time, and Noyes promised to then keep looking. I don't have that picture, Noyes? I thought I had him. I guess not. I'm remiss in my duties again. After National Public Radio did a story on this search, a professor at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, came forward with a 1991 version. Paul Jones meets Berners-Lee during the British scientist's visit to the U.S. for a conference in 91. Just a year after Berners-Lee invented the web. Jones said Berners-Lee shared the page with the professor who has transferred it from server to server throughout the years. A version remains on the internet today at an archive Jones run Wisheyebego, whatever the heck that is. The page Jones received from the Berners-Lee is locked in Jones's NEXT computer behind a password that has long been forgotten. There you go. I forgot what the heck I locked it up with. Forensics computer specialists are trying to extract the information to check timestamps and preserve the original coding used to generate the page. Now, to me, being kind of a techie kind of guy, that's pretty interesting to me. I think that's kind of cool. But is this truly the first web page? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. You're going to have to go on over there and check stuff out. I haven't had time to go on over there. This is literally the CERN project right here. If you're watching on the TV side, you got to get over there. It is, to me, fascinating. And I'm trying to remember. I'm sure I don't know, I might have a hard drive sitting around here yet from the first one that I ever created. For whatever information that is. Little trivia tidbit. I don't remember what it was. I'll have to look into that. Anyway, the webpage preserved by Jones is both familiar and quaint. There are no flashy graphics or video clips. Instead, it's a page of text on a white background with 19 hyperlinks. There's a little link, blue things you click on to go somewhere. Some of the links, such as the ones leading to information about CERN, have been updated and still work. On the other hand, a link to the phone numbers for CERN staffers is dead. Noyes says he'll keep searching for earlier versions of the page. Noyes said his project still has to sort through plenty of old discs and other data submitted during NPR's story. He suspects that there will be a couple of pages to pop up that were created months before the version Jones has. The internet itself dates back to 1969, when computer scientists gathered in a lab at the University of California, L.A., to exchange data between two bulky computers. It was in the early days, the internet had email, message boards known as Usenet, and online communities such as The Well. Usenet, and this is a personal thing, and I remember back then, and I'll finish this story, and I'm going to take it right now. Back then, you didn't have, before email, access to the internet with email, which was a direct shot between two people or groups of people. The only thing that was out there was news groups. You could communicate to someone or a group of people through a news group, NNTPs. They're still out there. Not many people use them. And I just had this discussion the other day because I actually fired up an old program that I used to use to read news groups. And their text, they do carry binary files, which are pictures, but there's no way to not use the web now. Although there is still some interesting conversation going on the news groups, and the news group servers are becoming more scarce and more scarce. But in its day, that was how most of us communicated. And there was, I don't remember which university it was, that I was in a news group, a use group, and the discussion turned, and these were people who were actually developing the internet. And it was the social arm of that group of people. And within our conversations, and it took 3, 4, 5 days at times to get the messages back around into where I could read an answer from somebody on something that I had posted, or vice versa. Excuse me. The discussion turned out or should I say, turned towards the social aspect of what would happen when the internet became popular. Was there a possibility that the internet would become addictive, much like alcohol, drugs? And it was a very strong consensus back then through these news groups that yes, it would be. From that, once that was established, and literally, any kids listening, any Patriots kids listening, or relay this story to them, back then, these discussions were very important as to the shaping of the internet. Not necessarily that it didn't get done a certain way, but I think censorship was taken up, addictiveness was taken up, and then the penalty or remedy for those people who would become addicted to the internet, to using the internet, the information flow. And you think, God, this and these. I'm telling you, I was in these conversations back then. The consensus was that yes, it would be addictive, and then it turned almost immediately to: was there a liability to those who provided internet service? Was there a liability separate from those who provided content? And then what would be the quote-unquote acceptable losses of social input to those? What would be an acceptable addiction ratio is basically what it was. How many people out of, if we had everybody using the internet, what would be the acceptable percentage of addicted internet users? What would society accept? And then if there was truly an addiction to it, would there be medical ramifications? Would there be any kind of remedy? Cold turkey, slow withdrawal? I mean, at the time, the internet, again, didn't exist. But there was this brain pool, and we discussed many, many things along that line. And it did come down to that there was a set percentage of acceptable use losses, I guess you could call it, of people who would become addicted to the internet. And as you look back on it now, of course, a lot of you weren't in those discussions, but as I look back on it, I say that we far missed the mark in our groups that talked about it. We were down at a 1%, 0.5%. I'm going to tell you now, given the fact of smartphones and how technology has jumped into that going here 24 hours a day, when you have students, and we're just from our local Lake Wisheyebego, we have a world texting champion or whatever, the United States, I remember where he turned up as, sitting in class with a phone in his pocket, texting messages. He can text, I don't know how many characters a second, I don't know, or a minute, I don't remember even what it is. But it's like, I'm going to tell you, and you hear these astronomical texting, parents having to pay bills for huge text messaging ramifications or bills or usage or whatever. And it's, I'm saying that's, again, falling right back into the teacher's classroom of what is and is not allowable, acceptable, and allowed to continue to happen. It's the erosion, that slow erosion of what's going on. I remember when my kids were in school, there was you had a cell phone, leave it in your locker. Don't even bring it into school. Now it's like in your pocket, and they're doing it, they're looking at you, they're with their thumbs, or whatever, fingers, typing out and having at it. Anyways, we're looking at the origins of the universe. Origins are intrinsically exciting, Noyes said. I guess I would too. Jones takes pride in his small part in the internet story too. He understands the pull of trying to find the first web page, even if it doesn't make much sense. After all, even the simplest page created by a blogging novice today is richer and has more depth than those web pages from a mere 2 decades ago. It was only 20 years ago. Interestingly, but that's how long I've been around the business, and then some. He likens it to why millions of people go to Europe to see the original paintings, the Scream or Mona Lisa, when they can see replicas with almost no effort at all. No matter how perfectly you can reproduce something, the Scream or the Mona Lisa, we have a fetish for the original. The more you see the derivative, the more you want to see the original. And I guess I would have to say that that's probably true. But once again, Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Is it a waste of money? Is it a genealogical footprint for what we see and use today in technology? I'd have to say, yeah. I'm a big genealogical fan. I think it's absolutely imperative that we, the people, know our heritage and our mistakes and our strong points and our bad points. I'll bet you're bound to repeat your bad steps if you just simply ignore them and don't talk about them. It's absolutely crazy how our educational system is remiss. And this isn't, and it, you think about it, it's very simple. It really is. Teaching the kids. Very, very, very simple. But anyways, I just thought that was kind of on the light side, and thought that you might enjoy that little tidbit story and my personal information on it. Again, this is Thursday, Just Jim in the morning here. And we won't be back until next Tuesday, as always. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is it. And we got a full boat of duties and obligations that we have to fulfill between now and then. I hope I'm up to the task, as it were. And with that, again, agree to disagree going in, but be good to each other, because after all it's done, that's all we got left over is us. Get up off your couch potato, you know what's. There's a quarter. And we will see you next Tuesday on the Just Jim Show on WPEG.net, your dose of reality network. And as always, if I get my right mouse and computer going here, we will close. Do I got time for this? I don't know if I do or not. Yeah, I think I do if I can find it. Hang on 2 seconds here. Hey, well, where did it go? Maybe I don't have it. I don't know. Oh, right here. Sure. Well, it's for. We'll just barely make it. I'm not going to end up doing the Pledge of Allegiance again, but I'm going to do this instead. So God bless, be good to each other, and we'll catch you next week, Tuesday.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a defender. So God made a patriot. God said, I need somebody willing to sacrifice everything, his fortune, his sacred honor, even his life, for liberty and something called inalienable rights that he cannot see but knows he cannot live without. So God made a patriot. God said, I need somebody willing to ride a horse through sleepy towns in the dark of night, sounding the alarm, entreating neighbors to take up arms against an overwhelming force of wicked tyranny. So God made a patriot. God said, I need someone who, even after crushing defeats, rises up and stands tall. Someone who hears the clarion call that these are the times that try men's souls and does not shrink from the trial. Someone who will cross a frozen river in the dead of winter, when all logic and reason says turn back, abandon hope. So God made a patriot. Then God said, I need a man who knows of the rise and fall of great nations, who knows of human nature and the corrupting influence of power and the fragility of liberty. I need this man, along with his like-minded brethren, to write an enduring constitution. So God made a patriot. God said, I need a person, one person, who's willing to do whatever it takes, even write a book to confront injustice and spark a movement that would tear apart a people so that chains will rightfully be shattered and a blessed union eventually emerge. So God made a patriot. And God said, I need someone who, with the love of family and for the love of country, will cross a vast ocean and storm a heavily fortified beach. And, if he survives, charge through 200 yards of bullets and blood across that merciless beach. And if he survives, scale the towering cliffs. And if he survives, begin the long march to free a continent. And if he survives, return home and, with the same resolute determination, rebuild a nation, and someday be called the greatest generation. So God made a patriot. And God said, I need someone who will, without thought of self, invest in schools and scouts and church and community, so that the proposition that all men are created equal remains a beacon to enlighten the world, and that such a beacon shall not perish from the earth. So God made a patriot. And God said, I need someone who will have the courage to not give up her seat on a bus and thus force a nation to confront its deepest divisions and heal the wounds and pursue the dream that inspires all hearts. So God made a patriot. And God said, I need someone strong enough to stand against any enemy, foreign or domestic, that would try to steal the freedom so dearly defended, the rights so righteously upheld, yet gentle enough to help a small child carry a star-spangled flag in a hometown parade. So God made a patriot. Then God said, I need a man who will speak the truth to his own leaders, that in order to preserve our great nation, we will not sacrifice the well-being of future generations for the sake of our own. Someone who will tirelessly toil day upon night, no matter the setback, no thought of surrender. Someone who will prayerfully rise every morning to climb the wall as a defender, duly endowed with the honored gift of generations before, while offering a solemn promise to generations ahead. A defender who will ensure that the way of truth and the torch of liberty remain forever lit in this shining city on a hill. So God made a patriot.
Any transmission, reproduction, or rebroadcast of this show is prohibited.
Will you shut up? I can't hear the song in my head.
Any
That's all, folks.
Yeah, baby!